I came home early that Tuesday. My last meeting had been canceled, and for once, I felt lucky. I'd get to spend the afternoon with my son, maybe take him to the park before dinner. The house was quiet when I walked in, which seemed strange. Tommy usually ran to greet me, his backpack still half on, chattering about his day at school. "Tommy?" I called, setting my purse on the kitchen counter. Nothing. "Lisa?" My sister-in-law had been living with us for 2 years now, ever since her husband died. She helped around the house, watched Tommy when I worked late. I trusted her completely. Still nothing. That's when I heard it. A sound so faint I almost missed it. A whimper. Muffled crying coming from somewhere upstairs. My stomach dropped. I took the stairs 2 at a time, following the sound to the guest room at the end of the hall. The door was closed. I turned the handle. Locked. "Tommy?" My voice cracked. The crying grew louder. I didn't think. I threw my shoulder against the door, once, twice. The old lock gave way, and the door burst open. The guest room was dim, curtains drawn. The air was stale and too warm. And there, curled up on the floor beside the bed, was my 8-year-old son. His face was flushed red, sweat dampening his hair. His eyes were swollen from crying. But what made my breath stop were the marks on his arms, red welts, finger-shaped bruises, already darkening to purple. "Baby," I whispered, dropping to my knees beside him. "What happened?" He flinched when I reached for him, actually flinched away from me. "It's okay," I said, keeping my voice soft, even though panic was screaming through my veins. "It's Mommy. You're safe now." Tommy looked at me with those big brown eyes, and I saw something in them I'd never seen before. Fear. Not the kind from a nightmare or a thunderstorm. Real, bone-deep fear. "How long have you been in here?" I asked, touching his forehead. He was burning up. "Since morning," he whispered. His lips were dry, cracked. "After you left for work." That was 7 hours ago. 7 hours locked in this room. No food, no water. My son had been trapped in here, alone and hurt, while I sat in meetings talking about quarterly reports. "Who did this to you?" I already knew. There was only one other person in this house. But I needed to hear him say it. Tommy's eyes darted to the door. He lowered his voice even more, barely audible. "It was Aunt Lisa. She wanted to teach me how to behave." The words hit me like a physical blow. Lisa. The woman I'd welcomed into our home, who I'd trusted with my child. The woman who baked cookies with Tommy on Saturdays and braided my hair before my anniversary dinner. That woman had done this. "What do you mean, teach you to behave?" I kept my voice steady, but my hands were shaking as I helped him sit up. "I spilled juice this morning, on the kitchen floor. It was an accident." His voice broke. "She got really mad. She grabbed my arms and dragged me up, here. She said I needed to think about what I'd done, that I was careless and ungrateful." I looked at the bruises again. Those were from being grabbed, being yanked. Hard enough to leave marks that would last days. "Did she hit you?" Tommy shook his head, then hesitated. She squeezed really tight, and she pushed me. I fell against the bed frame. He lifted his shirt slightly, showing me another bruise blooming across his ribs. I pulled him into my arms, carefully, mindful of the injuries. He was so small, so fragile, and someone had hurt him. In our home, in what should have been the safest place in the world for him. "I'm sorry, Mommy," he sobbed into my shoulder. "I didn't mean to spill it. I tried to be good." "This is not your fault," I said firmly, blinking back my own tears. "Do you hear me? You did nothing wrong. Nothing." I held him until his breathing steadied, then helped him to his feet. He swayed slightly, lightheaded from dehydration and fever. I got him water from the bathroom, made him sip it slowly. My mind was racing. Where was Lisa? The house was still quiet. Her car had been in the driveway. I needed to get Tommy out of this room. I needed to think clearly. But first, I needed to know if this had happened before. "Tommy," I said gently, crouching to his eye level. Has Aunt Lisa ever done something like this before? He bit his lip, looked down. You can tell me. I promise you won't get in trouble. Sometimes, he whispered, when you're at work, she gets mad if I'm too loud, or if I make a mess. She says I need to learn discipline. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. What does she do when she's mad? She yells, calls me names, says I'm spoiled and difficult. He paused. Last week, she made me stand in the corner for 3 hours because I forgot to put my shoes away. 3 hours. He was 8 years old. Why didn't you tell me? Tommy's eyes filled with tears again. She said if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. She said you'd think I was lying to get attention. And she said, he trailed off. What did she say? That if I told, she'd make sure Daddy sent me away, to boarding school or something, because I was too much trouble. I felt something cold and hard settle in my chest. Lisa had been systematic about this, hurting him, terrorizing him, then making sure he was too afraid to speak up. How long had this been going on? How many times had I left my son alone with someone who was abusing him? I took Tommy's hand. Let's get you downstairs. I'm going to make you something to eat, and then we need to talk about what happens next. We walked down the stairs together, Tommy leaning against me. The house still felt too quiet. I got him settled on the couch with a blanket, brought him crackers and more water. His fever was concerning. I'd need to take him to the doctor. But first, I needed to find Lisa. I checked the kitchen. Empty. The living room. Her bedroom. Nothing. Then I saw it through the back window. She was in the garden, pruning roses, humming to herself. Like nothing had happened. Like my son wasn't upstairs, locked in a room, hurt and terrified. I watched her for a long moment. This woman I thought I knew. She looked so normal. So pleasant. Her gray hair pulled back in a neat bun, her floral dress sunny and cheerful. She looked like someone's kind aunt, like someone you'd trust. I thought about marching out there, screaming at her, demanding answers. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the calculated way she'd threatened Tommy. Maybe it was the sick feeling that this was bigger than one incident. I needed to be smart about this. I went back to Tommy, sat with him while he ate. I want you to know something, I told him. What happened today was wrong. What's been happening is wrong. And it's going to stop. I'm going to make sure you're safe. Are you going to tell Daddy? That was a good question. My husband, Mark, was away on a business trip, wouldn't be back for 3 more days. And Mark loved his sister. Lisa had been his rock after their parents died. He'd been the one to invite her to live with us after her husband passed away. Would he believe me? Would he believe Tommy? Or would Lisa manage to twist this somehow? I'm going to tell him, I said. But first, I'm taking you to the doctor. Those bruises need to be looked at. I heard the back door open, footsteps in the kitchen. Lisa appeared in the living room doorway, still wearing her gardening gloves. When she saw us on the couch, her expression flickered, just for a second. Then the warm smile was back. You're home early, she said pleasantly. I was just about to start dinner. I stood up slowly, putting myself between her and Tommy. We need to talk. Of course. She pulled off her gloves. Is something wrong? I almost laughed. The audacity of it. I found Tommy locked in the guest room. He was feverish, dehydrated, and he has bruises all over his arms. Lisa's eyes widened. Perfect surprise. What? Tommy, sweetheart? What happened? Tommy pressed closer to me, silent. Don't, I said quietly. Don't pretend you don't know. She looked at me with those soft blue eyes, concerned and confused. I don't understand. I've been in the garden for the past hour. Tommy was playing in his room when I last checked on him. You locked him in the guest room for 7 hours because he spilled juice. Lisa shook her head slowly. Is that what he told you? Her voice was gentle, almost pitying. Oh, honey, I think Tommy might be confused. You know how children can be. Sometimes they mix up what really happened, especially when they're trying to avoid getting in trouble. He's not confused, I said. My voice was steel. And he has bruises to prove it. Bruises? Lisa moved closer, and I instinctively stepped back. Can I see? No. She stopped, a flicker of something crossing her face. Irritation, maybe. But it was gone in an instant. I understand you're upset, but I think there's been a misunderstanding. Tommy probably fell or bumped into something. Children are so active, they're always getting hurt. Maybe he's embarrassed and made up a story. He didn't make up anything. Lisa sighed, the picture of patience. You're his mother. Of course you believe him. I'm not saying he's lying intentionally, just that he might be mistaken. Or maybe... She hesitated, as if reluctant to continue. Maybe what? Maybe he's trying to get attention. You have been working such long hours lately. He might be acting out. The suggestion was so outrageous, so perfectly crafted to plant doubt, that for a moment I just stared at her. She was good. Really good. I'm taking him to the doctor, I said. And then I'm calling Mark. Of course, Lisa said smoothly. I think that's very wise. A doctor can examine him properly. I'm sure they'll confirm that whatever happened, it wasn't anything serious. Children are resilient. She was so calm, so reasonable. Like she knew exactly what a doctor would say. Bruises are common in children. Could have come from anywhere. No proof of abuse. I grabbed my purse and helped Tommy to the car. Lisa waved from the doorway as we pulled out of the driveway. A friendly, concerned wave, like she was sending us off on an errand. At the urgent care clinic, a tired doctor examined Tommy's bruises, asked me routine questions. Any idea how these happened? I hesitated. If I said abuse, there would be reports, investigations. Part of me wanted that, but another part, the part that had seen Lisa's performance, knew this could go badly. It would be my word and Tommy's against hers. And she'd already planted the seed. Attention-seeking behavior. An overworked mother. A clumsy child. He said he fell, I heard myself say, against some furniture. The doctor nodded, making notes. The pattern is consistent with that. Keep an eye on him. If the fever doesn't break by tomorrow, bring him back. In the car, Tommy was quiet. You didn't tell him, he said finally. I will, I promised. But I need to do this right. I need to make sure when I tell people what happened, they believe us. When we got home, the house smelled like pot roast. Lisa had made dinner. She'd set the table for 3, with Tommy's favorite placemats. The kitchen was spotless. No sign of any spilled juice. She smiled when she saw us. How did it go? Fine, I said shortly. Tommy needs to rest. We'll eat later. I took Tommy up to his room, his real room, and tucked him into bed. Lock your door tonight, I told him. And if anything happens, anything at all, you scream. As loud as you can. I'll hear you. He nodded, his eyes heavy. I went back downstairs. Lisa was in the kitchen, humming that same tune from the garden. I stood in the doorway, watching her. She glanced up, smiled. I hope you're not upset with me, she said. About earlier, I know it must have been alarming, hearing Tommy's story. But I promise you, I would never hurt him. He's like my own nephew. I love him dearly. I know what you did, I said quietly. Her smile didn't waver. I made pot roast, your favorite. I know what you've been doing, and it's going to stop. Lisa set down her spoon, turned to face me fully. For just a moment, the mask slipped. Her eyes were cold, assessing. Then the warmth flooded back. I don't know what you think happened, she said carefully, but I hope you'll consider carefully before you make any accusations. Mark and I are very close, and I'd hate for this misunderstanding to cause problems in your marriage. There it was, the threat, wrapped in concern. Mark will believe me. Will he? Lisa tilted her head. You're his wife, of course, but I'm his sister, the only family he has left. And Tommy, well, children can be so impressionable, so imaginative. My phone rang. Mark's name lit up the screen. Lisa smiled. You should answer that. I'm sure he's calling to check in. I grabbed the phone, but before I could say hello, I heard Lisa's voice behind me. She'd picked up the kitchen extension. Mark, how's the trip? She sounded bright, cheerful. "Oh, we're fine. Well, actually," she paused delicately. "I'm a little worried about Jennifer. She came home early today and seemed very upset. I think the stress of work might be getting to her. She's been saying some strange things." I stared at her, the phone pressed to my ear. "Jennifer?" Mark's voice was confused. "What's going on?" Lisa had gotten to him first. She'd already started painting me as unstable. And I realized, standing in that kitchen with the smell of pot roast and the sound of her humming, that this was war. This woman had hurt my child, terrorized him, manipulated him into silence, and now she was going to try to discredit me, to make me look hysterical or paranoid. But she'd made one mistake. She'd underestimated what a mother would do to protect her son. I took a breath. "Mark," I said, my voice steady. "We need to talk. Something happened today with Tommy." I saw Lisa's expression shift, just slightly. She was waiting to see what I'd say, how I'd play this. And I knew in that moment that I had to be smarter than I'd ever been in my life. Because this wasn't just about one locked door or one afternoon of cruelty. This was about a pattern I hadn't seen, a threat I hadn't recognized. This was about my son's safety. And I would do whatever it took to protect him, even if it meant destroying the illusion of our perfect family, even if it meant facing Mark's disbelief, even if it meant going to war with a woman who'd been living in our home, sleeping down the hall, eating at our table. Lisa was watching me, that pleasant smile still on her face, and I smiled back. Let her think she'd won this round. Let her think I'd back down. I had 3 days before Mark came home. 3 days to figure out exactly what I was dealing with. 3 days to build a case that couldn't be dismissed or explained away. 3 days to make sure Lisa could never hurt my son again. The war had just begun, and I wasn't going to lose. That night, I barely slept. I kept checking on Tommy every hour, making sure his door was locked, listening for any sound of movement in the hallway. Lisa's room was just down the hall from his. Too close. Around 3 a.m, I heard her door creak open. My entire body went rigid. I held my breath, listening. Footsteps, soft and deliberate, moving toward Tommy's room. I was out of bed in seconds, standing in my doorway. In the dim hallway light, I could see Lisa's silhouette. She had her hand on Tommy's doorknob, testing it. "He's sleeping," I said quietly. She turned, not startled at all, like she'd known I was watching. "I just wanted to check on him, make sure his fever broke. I've got it covered." We stood there in the darkness, two women who now understood exactly where they stood with each other. No more pretense, no more politeness. "You should get some rest," Lisa said finally. "You look exhausted." She went back to her room and closed the door. I stayed in the hallway for another 20 minutes, making sure she didn't come back out. The next morning, I called in sick to work. I needed time to think, to plan. More importantly, I couldn't leave Tommy alone with her again. Lisa seemed surprised when she came down for breakfast and found me at the kitchen table. "Not going to the office?" "No, I'm taking a few days off." "I see." She poured herself coffee, moving around the kitchen like she owned it. "To spend time with Tommy?" "Yes." "That's nice. He could use some attention from his mother." The implication hung in the air. That I'd been neglecting him. That whatever problems existed were my fault for working too much. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I pulled out my laptop and started researching. Child abuse, legal options, custody. What I found wasn't encouraging. Without concrete proof, this became a he said, she said situation. Tommy was 8. Lisa was a grieving widow who'd been helping our family. A good lawyer could paint her as a victim of false accusations. I needed evidence. While Lisa was in the shower, I went through her room. I felt like a criminal, rifling through her drawers and closet, but I didn't know what I was looking for until I found it. A notebook, tucked under her mattress. I almost missed it. Inside were pages of neat handwriting. Lists. Observations. Comments about Tommy. Tuesday. Tommy left his backpack in the hallway. Lazy and thoughtless like his mother. Friday. Tommy talked back when I asked him to clean his room. Needs stronger discipline. Jennifer is too soft on him. Monday, Tommy asked when his father was coming home. Clearly doesn't appreciate what I do for this family. The entries went back months, almost a year. Page after page of criticisms, complaints, justifications. And scattered throughout were notes about me and Mark. Jennifer works late again. Doesn't even pretend to care about her family. Mark called, told him Jennifer seems distant lately. He agreed. Good. They argued about money this morning. I can work with this. My hands shook as I read. Lisa had been documenting everything, building a narrative. She was systematically undermining my relationship with Mark, painting me as a neglectful mother and inattentive wife. And she'd been doing it so subtly that neither of us had noticed. I took photos of every page with my phone, then carefully put the notebook back exactly where I'd found it. This was evidence. But evidence of what? A bitter woman's private thoughts? Nothing she'd written was a confession to hurting Tommy. It was nasty, yes. Manipulative, definitely. But was it proof of abuse? I needed more. Over the next 2 days, I stayed home and watched, really watched, and what I saw chilled me. Lisa was never overtly cruel when I was in the room. She didn't yell or threaten, but there were small things. The way she gripped Tommy's shoulder just a little too tight when leading him to the table. How she'd accidentally bump into him, making him stumble. The comments that sounded helpful but were actually digs. Oh, Tommy, you're wearing that shirt again? Don't you have anything cleaner? Maybe if you tried a little harder in school, you wouldn't need so much help with your homework. Your father won't be happy if you keep making messes like this. And Tommy's reactions broke my heart. He'd flinch, apologize constantly, try to make himself smaller, quieter, less noticeable. This wasn't the confident, happy kid he'd been a year ago. When had that changed? How had I missed it? I started taking notes of my own, time-stamped, detailed, every interaction I witnessed. But I needed something undeniable, something that couldn't be explained away or dismissed. On the second night, I went to our basement storage and found the box Mark had packed away months ago. Home security equipment. He'd bought it after some break-ins in the neighborhood, but never installed it, saying we didn't really need it. I spent 3 hours that night setting up tiny cameras in the living room, kitchen, and hallway. They were motion-activated, recording to a cloud server. I hid them carefully, in smoke detectors, behind picture frames, tucked into bookshelves. The next morning, I told Lisa I had to run some errands. Tommy wanted to come with me, his eyes pleading. But I needed to know what happened when I was gone. You stay here with Aunt Lisa, I said, hating myself for it. I'll only be an hour. I drove to the end of our street and parked. Then I pulled up the security camera app on my phone and watched. For the first 10 minutes, nothing happened. Lisa sat on the couch, reading. Tommy played with his toys in the corner, quiet as a mouse. Then Tommy knocked over a cup of water. Just a little plastic cup. Barely any water in it. It spilled on the hardwood floor. Lisa's head snapped up. I watched her stand, watched her face transform into something ugly and cold. She crossed the room in 3 strides and grabbed Tommy by the arm, yanking him up so hard his feet left the ground. I couldn't hear the audio through my phone, but I could see her mouth moving, see the venom in her expression. Tommy was crying, trying to pull away. She shook him, then dragged him toward the stairs. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Every instinct screamed at me to drive back, to stop this. But I forced myself to wait, to let the camera record. She pulled Tommy into the guest room. Through the hallway camera, I watched her shove him inside and slam the door. Then she wedged a chair under the doorknob. Locked in. Again. Lisa stood there for a moment, her chest heaving. Then she smoothed her hair, took a breath, and walked back downstairs like nothing had happened. I had it. On video. Clear as day. I drove home, my heart pounding. When I walked in, Lisa was in the kitchen, humming, making lunch. That was quick, she said pleasantly. Forgot my wallet. I grabbed it from the counter. Where's Tommy? Oh, he's resting. Wasn't feeling well. I'll check on him. I went upstairs and found the chair still wedged under the guest room door. I moved it, opened the door. Tommy was sitting on the floor, tears streaking his face. Come here, baby. I scooped him up, carried him to his room. He was trembling. She said I'm clumsy, that I ruin everything, that Daddy's going to be so disappointed when he comes home. None of that is true, I whispered fiercely. Do you hear me? None of it. I got him settled with a movie in his room. Door locked, then went back downstairs. Lisa was setting the table. She looked up with that same pleasant smile. Is he feeling better? You locked him in that room again. Her smile didn't falter. I don't know what you mean. I saw you. I have it on video. Now the smile faded. Her eyes went flat. You're spying on me? I'm protecting my son. Lisa set down the plates carefully. I see. And what exactly do you think you saw? You dragging Tommy upstairs, locking him in a room, for spilling water. That's not what happened. Her voice was calm, measured. Tommy was having a tantrum. He was out of control. I brought him upstairs to calm down. It's called a timeout. Perhaps you're not familiar with the concept since you're rarely here to discipline him yourself. You locked the door. For his own safety. He was so worked up he might have hurt himself. She had an answer for everything, every single thing. Like she'd rehearsed this. I have the video, I repeated. Of what? A concerned aunt helping her nephew during a meltdown? Lisa shrugged. Show it to whoever you like. I've done nothing wrong. Any reasonable person would see I was trying to help. Mark will see the truth. Will he? Lisa moved closer. Mark knows how stressful your job is, how often you're away, how little time you spend with Tommy. He's mentioned it to me many times. He's worried about you, about your priorities. That's a lie. Is it? She tilted her head. Check your husband's text messages, the ones he sent me over the past few months. You'll see how concerned he's been, how much he's relied on me to be there for Tommy when you couldn't be. My stomach dropped. Mark had been texting Lisa behind my back about me. He loves you, of course, Lisa continued smoothly. But love doesn't mean blind faith. If you show him that video and claim I abused Tommy, what do you think he'll believe? What his troubled, overworked wife says? Or what his own eyes and judgment tell him? That his sister was simply doing her best in a difficult situation? She was right. The video showed her pulling Tommy upstairs and closing him in a room. Without audio, without context, a sympathetic viewer could interpret it as exactly what she claimed: tough discipline for a misbehaving child. And think about what happens next, Lisa said quietly. If you make these accusations and no one believes you, if Mark sides with me, where does that leave you? Where does that leave your marriage? The threat was clear. She'd been laying groundwork for months, maybe longer, painting me as an absent mother, sowing seeds of doubt in Mark's mind. If this turned into a battle, she had ammunition I didn't even know existed. You're sick, I said. I'm practical. And Lisa returned to setting the table. I've had to be. I lost my husband, my home, everything I built. Your husband was kind enough to take me in, to give me a place in this family. And I've tried to be useful, to earn my keep. If that means taking on the responsibilities you've abdicated, then so be it. I haven't abdicated anything. Haven't you? She met my eyes. When's the last time you picked Tommy up from school, or helped with his homework, or tucked him in at night? I do all of that. I'm the one who's here. I'm the one who actually takes care of him. By hurting him, by disciplining him, there's a difference. Though I wouldn't expect you to understand that. Lisa's voice hardened. You come home for a few days, see a child who's been corrected for bad behavior, and suddenly you're playing hero, protecting him from the terrible aunt. It's quite dramatic, but it's not reality. The bruises are reality. Children bruise easily, especially active boys who climb trees and play rough. He didn't get those bruises from playing. Prove it. We stared at each other. She knew I couldn't. Not definitively. Not in a way that would hold up. I want you out of this house, I said. Lisa laughed. Actually laughed. This isn't your house. It's Mark's house. And I'm his sister. Do you really think he'll choose you over me? especially when I explain how you've been paranoid, making wild accusations, traumatizing poor Tommy with your suspicions. He'll believe his son. Will he? Tommy's 8. Children that age are highly suggestible. If you've been filling his head with ideas, telling him that his aunt is dangerous, of course, he'll repeat what you want to hear. Mark will see that. Anyone would. She was so confident, so certain she'd covered every angle. And the worst part was, she might be right. My phone rang. Mark again. He'd been calling every night, but our conversations had been brief. I'd been afraid to tell him too much over the phone, afraid Lisa would overhear and spin it before I could explain. You should answer, Lisa said sweetly. Tell him what a terrible person I am. See how that goes. I took the call into the other room. Hey yourself. Mark sounded tired. How's everything? We need to talk when you get home. It's important. Is something wrong? Concern crept into his voice. Lisa mentioned you've been stressed. Of course she had. It's about Tommy and Lisa. What about them? I hesitated. How did I explain this without sounding crazy? There's been an incident, actually several incidents, with how Lisa's been treating Tommy. Silence. Then, what kind of incidents? She's been too harsh with him, locking him in rooms, leaving marks. It's not okay, Mark. More silence. When he spoke again, his voice was careful. Did something specific happen? I found Tommy locked in the guest room. He'd been there for hours. Are you sure? Maybe there was a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. He had bruises, Mark, on his arms. Kids get bruises all the time. Not like this. My frustration was building. I'm telling you something is wrong. Your sister has been hurting our son. That's a serious accusation. His tone shifted, becoming more formal, defensive. Lisa's been nothing but helpful. She's been there for Tommy when we couldn't be. When we couldn't be. Not when you couldn't be. When we couldn't be. Like he was already grouping himself with Lisa, separating me out. I'm not making this up. I didn't say you were, but maybe you're seeing things that aren't there. You've been under a lot of pressure at work. Lisa mentioned you've seemed off lately. I've seemed off because your sister has been abusing our son and manipulating both of us. Okay, let's calm down. Mark's voice went gentle, placating. The tone you'd use with someone irrational. I think we should talk about this when I get home, in person. Maybe all of us together. I don't want her around Tommy until we sort this out. She lives here. I can't just kick my sister out based on... Look, I'm sure there's an explanation. Lisa wouldn't hurt Tommy. She loves him. She's dangerous. Now you're being dramatic. The words hit like a slap. Dramatic. Exactly what Lisa had predicted he'd say. I have to go, I said. My meeting's starting. I hung up before he could respond. Lisa was still in the kitchen when I came back. She didn't say anything, just looked at me with those cold blue eyes. She knew how that call had gone. She'd orchestrated it perfectly. That night, I backed up all the security footage to 3 different cloud servers. I copied the photos of Lisa's notebook and created a detailed timeline of everything I'd witnessed. I wasn't ready to show Mark yet, not until I had something so undeniable that even his blind loyalty to his sister couldn't explain it away. But I was building a case, piece by piece. Lisa seemed to sense my resolve. She became more careful, more controlled. She didn't lock Tommy in rooms when I was home. She didn't raise her voice, but I caught her watching me, calculating. The night before Mark was supposed to come home, I couldn't sleep again. I kept thinking about what Lisa had said, about Mark's texts, about how he'd been confiding in her. I found Mark's laptop, the one he kept at home. His email was auto-logged in. I shouldn't have looked. I knew it was wrong. But I needed to know what I was up against. There were dozens of emails between Mark and Lisa from the past 6 months. I read through them, my heart sinking with each one. I'm worried about Jen. She missed Tommy's school play again. Jennifer seems distant. Have you noticed? I try to fill in where I can, but Tommy really needs his mother. And Mark's responses, agreeing, confiding his own concerns. I don't know how to talk to her about this. I'm grateful you're there for Tommy. I don't know what we'd do without you. Lisa had been poisoning the well for months, and Mark had drunk deeply from it. I closed the laptop and sat in the dark, thinking. Tomorrow, Mark would be home. Tomorrow, I'd have to convince my husband that his beloved sister was hurting our child. And I'd have to do it while she sat there, calm and credible, spinning her own version of the events. I thought about that notebook, those bitter entries, the security footage, the timeline I'd created. It might not be enough, but it would have to be. Because if I failed, if Mark didn't believe me, I'd have to make an impossible choice. Stay in this house with a woman who hurt my son, hoping to protect him. Or leave and risk losing custody because I couldn't prove my claims. Neither option was acceptable. I had to win. I had to make Mark see the truth. I went to Tommy's room, stood watching him sleep. His face was peaceful now, the bruises on his arms fading to yellow. He looked so small in his bed, so vulnerable. "I won't let her hurt you anymore," I whispered. "I promise." Tomorrow, the real battle began, and I had to be ready. Mark came home on a Thursday afternoon. I heard his car in the driveway and felt my stomach knot. Tommy heard it too and ran to the window, then stopped himself. That hesitation broke my heart. He was afraid to show too much excitement, afraid of doing something wrong. Lisa appeared at the top of the stairs, perfectly put together. She'd done her hair, put on makeup, chosen a soft lavender sweater that made her look gentle and maternal. I was in yoga pants and an old t-shirt, exhausted from 3 nights of barely sleeping. The optics weren't good. Mark walked in with his suitcase, and Tommy finally broke, running to him. "Daddy!" "Hey, buddy!" Mark scooped him up, and I saw him wince slightly. Tommy's ribs, where the bruises were. But Mark didn't notice, too happy to see his son. Lisa came downstairs, all smiles. "Welcome home. I made your favorite pot roast. Thought we could have a nice family dinner." "Sounds perfect." Mark hugged his sister, kissed my cheek. "You okay? You look tired." "I'm fine. Can we talk? Privately? Let me at least get my shoes off." He laughed, but I heard the edge in it. He knew I was going to push the Lisa issue, and he didn't want to deal with it. Lisa took Tommy's hand. "Why don't you help me finish setting the table, sweetheart?" Tommy looked at me, uncertain. I wanted to say no, wanted to keep him close, but I also needed to talk to Mark alone. "Okay," I said quietly. "We'll be right there." Mark and I went into our bedroom. He sat on the bed, rubbing his face. "Long trip. I need you to listen to me. Really listen." "I'm listening." "Your sister has been hurting Tommy. This isn't me being dramatic or stressed. It's real, and it's been going on for months." Mark's jaw tightened. "We talked about this on the phone, and you didn't believe me, but I have proof now." I pulled out my phone, showed him the security footage. He watched Lisa drag Tommy upstairs, watched her lock him in the guest room. "See?" I said. "That's what she does when I'm not here." Mark was silent for a long moment. Then, "It looks like she was bringing him upstairs for a timeout. She locked him in. Maybe he was having a tantrum. Maybe she was keeping him safe." "That's exactly what she said you'd say." He looked at me sharply. "What's that supposed to mean?" "She's been manipulating you, Mark, preparing you to doubt me. Look." I showed him the photos of Lisa's notebook. She's been documenting everything, building a narrative that I'm a bad mother. Mark scrolled through the images, his expression unreadable. This is her private journal. Her private journal where she calls our son lazy and says he needs stronger discipline. She's frustrated. That doesn't mean she's abusive. She locked him in a room for 7 hours. He had bruises. Kids get bruises. Mark's voice was rising now too. And sometimes kids need discipline. Lisa's old school shirt. Maybe her methods aren't what we choose, but that doesn't make her an abuser. Listen to yourself. You're defending her over your own son. I'm trying to be rational about this instead of jumping to conclusions. I'm not jumping to conclusions. I've spent days gathering evidence. Evidence that you got by spying on my sister, going through her private things, setting up cameras without her knowledge. Do you realize how paranoid that looks? The word hit me like cold water. Paranoid. Exactly what Lisa had predicted. I had to, I said. She's good at hiding what she does. She only shows her real face when she thinks no one's watching. Or maybe there's nothing to hide and you're seeing monsters where there aren't any. Mark stood up, pacing. Lisa's been through hell. She lost her husband, her home, everything. We're all she has left. And she's been nothing but helpful to us. She takes care of Tommy, keeps the house running, gives us both freedom to focus on our careers. And this is how you repay her? By accusing her of child abuse? I'm trying to protect our son. From what? From someone who loves him? Mark shook his head. I think the real issue here is that you're feeling guilty. You've been working crazy hours, missing Tommy's school events, leaving him with Lisa more and more. And instead of dealing with that guilt, you're projecting it onto her. I stared at him. You really believe that? You really think I'd make this up? I think you believe it, which is different. I think you're stressed and tired and looking for someone to blame. Did Lisa tell you to say that? Don't. Mark's voice went hard. Don't try to turn this into some conspiracy. Lisa didn't tell me anything except that she's worried about you, about us. She's poisoning you against me. You're doing that yourself. He grabbed his jacket. I need some air. Mark, wait. But he was already gone, footsteps heavy on the stairs. I heard him tell Lisa he was going for a drive, heard the front door close, his car start. I sat on the bed, shaking. It had gone exactly as Lisa predicted. Worse even. Mark didn't just doubt me. He thought I was crazy. There was a soft knock on the bedroom door. Jennifer? Lisa's voice, gentle and concerned. Are you okay? I wanted to scream at her to get away. But what good would that do? I opened the door. She was standing there with a cup of tea, sympathy in her eyes. I heard raised voices. I'm sorry. I feel like this is my fault. It is your fault. I know you're angry with me, and I understand. If I thought someone was hurting Tommy, I'd be angry too. She offered me the tea, but I hope you know that I would never, ever intentionally harm him. He's my nephew. I love him like my own. I didn't take the tea. You're a liar. I'm not lying. Lisa's voice remained calm, reasonable. I know my discipline style is different from yours. Maybe I am too strict sometimes. I grew up in a different era with different rules, but everything I do comes from a place of caring, of wanting Tommy to grow up to be a good man. By locking him in rooms? By leaving bruises? I've never locked him in a room as punishment. I've given him timeouts, yes, in the guest room where it's quiet and he can calm down. And I've never intentionally hurt him. If he has bruises, they're from normal childhood activities. He's an active boy. She was so good, so believable. I could see how Mark fell for it. I know what you are, I said quietly. I'm a woman who's lost everything and is trying to be useful to her family. That's all. Lisa set the tea on the dresser. I understand you're upset, and I don't blame you. If I were in your position, I might feel the same way. But I hope, in time, you'll see that we're on the same side. We both want what's best for Tommy. Get out of my room. Lisa nodded, turned to go, then paused. Mark loves you, but he's conflicted right now. If you keep pushing this, keep making him choose between his wife and his sister, I don't know what he'll do. I hope you'll think carefully about what's best for your marriage. For Tommy's sake, if nothing else. A broken home helps no one. The threat was clear. Back off, or lose everything. She left, closing the door softly behind her. I sat there, feeling the walls close in. I'd played my hand and failed. Mark didn't believe me. Lisa had outmaneuvered me, and Tommy was still in danger. I couldn't stay in this house, but I couldn't leave either, not without Tommy. And if I tried to take him, Mark would stop me. He had as much right to custody as I did. I needed something bigger, something undeniable. I wiped my eyes, forced myself to think clearly. Lisa had won this battle. But the war wasn't over. Over the next week, things in the house were tense. Mark was distant, throwing himself into work. Lisa was perfectly pleasant, acting like nothing had happened. And Tommy was quiet, watchful, walking on eggshells. I worked from home as much as possible, keeping Tommy close. But I had to go into the office sometimes, and those days filled me with dread. I kept the security cameras running. Lisa knew about them now, so she was more careful. But careful wasn't perfect. I caught her, 3 days after Mark came home. She didn't know I'd set up a camera in Tommy's room too, hidden inside his nightlight. She came in after I'd left for a meeting. Tommy was doing his homework at his desk. Lisa stood in the doorway, watching him. "Your mother told your father lies about me," she said quietly. Tommy didn't respond, kept his eyes on his paper. "She tried to turn him against me, to make him think I'm a bad person. But your father knows better. He knows I only want to help." Tommy's hand was shaking as he wrote. "You know that too, don't you? That I'm not bad. That I'm just trying to teach you to be better." "Yes, Aunt Lisa," Tommy whispered. "Good boy." She moved closer. "If your mother asks you questions about me, you'll tell her the truth, won't you? That I've never hurt you. That you love your Aunt Lisa." Tommy nodded. "Say it. I love you, Aunt Lisa. And I've never hurt you. You've never hurt me." "That's right." She patted his head, and I saw him flinch on the video. "Such a smart boy. Much smarter than your mother gives you credit for." She left, and Tommy sat there for a long time, not moving. Then he put his head down on his desk and cried. I watched the footage in my car, tears streaming down my face. She was coaching him, making sure his story matched hers. This was worse than I thought. Lisa wasn't just abusing Tommy, she was psychologically manipulating him, teaching him to doubt his own reality. I needed help. Real help. I made an appointment with a child psychologist, told the receptionist it was urgent. They fit me in the next day. Dr. Sarah Chen listened to everything I told her, watched the videos I showed her. She was in her 50s, calm and professional, taking notes. "This is concerning," she said finally. "The pattern you're describing is consistent with emotional abuse and manipulation. The physical incidents are problematic, but it's the psychological component that worries me most. Can you help him? Can you evaluate him?" "I can, but I need you to understand something. If I find evidence of abuse, I'm a mandated reporter. I'll have to file a report with Child Protective Services." My heart sank. "What will that mean?" "An investigation, interviews with you, your husband, your sister-in-law, and Tommy. They'll assess the home environment. Depending on what they find, they could require your sister-in-law to leave, or they could remove Tommy temporarily while they investigate." "Remove him? You mean take him away from us?" "It's rare, but if they believe he's in immediate danger, yes." I felt sick. "And if my husband doesn't cooperate? If he doesn't believe Tommy's in danger?" Dr. Chen's expression was sympathetic. "That complicates things. CPS prefers to work with families, not against them. If one parent is protective and one isn't, it creates a difficult dynamic. So what do I do? Document everything. Continue recording incidents. And most importantly, bring Tommy in to see me. Let me do a proper evaluation. If he discloses abuse to me, that carries weight. A professional assessment is harder to dismiss than a parent's concerns." I scheduled an appointment for Tommy for the following week, but I didn't tell Mark. I didn't tell anyone. That weekend, Mark's parents came to visit. His mother, Diane, had always been kind to me. Maybe she'd be an ally. Sunday brunch was awkward. Lisa played the perfect hostess, helping Diane in the kitchen. Mark's father, Robert, talked about his golf game, and I watched, waiting for my moment. After lunch, while Mark and his father were outside with Tommy, I helped Diane with the dishes. Lisa had conveniently excused herself for a phone call. "Diane," I said quietly, "can I talk to you about something?" "Of course, dear." "It's about Lisa and Tommy." Her hands stilled in the soapy water. "What about them?" I told her everything. Showed her the videos on my phone, the photos of the notebook. Explained how Lisa had been hurting Tommy, manipulating Mark. Diane watched and listened, her expression growing more troubled. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "This is serious. she said finally. I know, and Mark won't believe me, but I thought maybe if you talk to him. Jennifer. Diane turned to face me. I believe something is wrong, but I'm not sure Lisa is the problem. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Lisa has always been protective. Maybe too much so, but she's not cruel. I know my daughter. Diane paused. What I'm worried about is the stress you're under. Mark's mentioned how much pressure you're facing at work, how you've been different lately. Different how? Distant, preoccupied. He's worried about you. We both are. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You think this is about me being stressed? I think you're seeing Lisa's strictness through a lens of guilt and exhaustion, and I think Tommy might be picking up on that tension. Children are sensitive. They reflect what they see. He's not reflecting anything. He's being abused. Diane's expression was pitying. Have you considered talking to someone, a therapist maybe, for yourself? She thought I was crazy, just like Mark did. Lisa had gotten to her too. Never mind, I said. Forget I said anything. I walked out of the kitchen, out of the house, got in my car and drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get away. I ended up at a park, sitting on a bench, watching strangers' children play. Happy kids with attentive parents who didn't have wolves living in their houses. My phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. Hello? Mrs. Henderson? This is Detective Amy Rodriguez with the County Sheriff's Office. I'm calling about a report filed concerning your son, Thomas Henderson. My blood went cold. A report? What kind of report? An anonymous tip came in earlier today suggesting possible child neglect. I'd like to set up a time to meet with you and your husband to discuss it. Neglect? Who filed this? The tip was anonymous, but we're required to investigate all reports concerning minors. Would tomorrow morning work for you? I felt like I was drowning. Yes. Fine. Whatever you need. I hung up and sat there, numb. Lisa. It had to be Lisa. She'd called in a report against me, claiming I was neglecting Tommy. She was striking first, making sure that if this went to authorities, I'd be the one under investigation, not her. I drove home in a daze. When I walked in, Mark was in the living room. He looked up, his face tight. Where did you go? I needed air. My mom told me what you said to her. What you showed her? I was trying to get help. You were trying to turn my family against each other. Mark stood. This has to stop, Jennifer. This obsession with Lisa. It's tearing us apart. She called CPS, or the sheriff's office. Someone reported us for child neglect. Mark's eyes widened. What? A detective called me, anonymous tip, about Tommy being neglected. That's insane. Who would... He stopped. You think Lisa did this? Who else? Maybe someone from Tommy's school, or a neighbor. Maybe someone actually is concerned because they've noticed how much you've been gone. You can't seriously believe... I don't know what to believe anymore, Mark's voice cracked. I don't know if my wife is having some kind of breakdown, or if there's a real problem, or what the hell is going on in my own house. Lisa appeared at the top of the stairs. She'd been listening, of course. I'm so sorry, she said softly. This is all my fault. If I'd known my being here would cause this much trouble, I never would have accepted your invitation. It's not your fault, Mark said. Maybe I should go. Find somewhere else to stay. Give you both space to work this out. No, Mark said firmly. You're family. You're staying. He looked at me, and I saw the line drawn. He'd chosen his side. I'm going to check on Tommy, I said quietly. I went upstairs and found my son in his room playing with Legos. He looked up when I came in, and I saw the fear in his eyes. Mommy? Are you and Daddy fighting because of me? No, baby. None of this is because of you. Aunt Lisa said sometimes adults fight when kids misbehave. I knelt beside him. What you heard had nothing to do with you misbehaving. Adults sometimes disagree about things. It happens. But Daddy and I both love you very much. That will never change. Tommy nodded, but he didn't look convinced. That night, I lay awake in bed next to Mark, both of us on opposite sides, not touching. The distance between us felt like miles. I thought about Dr. Chen's appointment, About the detective interview tomorrow. About Lisa down the hall, probably sleeping peacefully, confident in her victory. She'd isolated me, made me look paranoid, turned my husband against me, filed a false report to make me look like the neglectful one. She was smarter than I'd given her credit for, but she'd made one mistake. She'd underestimated how far I'd go to protect my son. Tomorrow, the detective would come, and I'd tell them everything, show them everything. Let them investigate Lisa, not just me. It might blow up my marriage. It might make things worse before they got better. But I was out of options, and I wasn't backing down. Not now, not ever. Detective Rodriguez arrived at 9 the next morning. She was younger than I expected, maybe mid-30s, with sharp eyes that took in everything. Mark and I sat across from her at the kitchen table. Lisa had made coffee and offered some to the detective, playing the gracious hostess before excusing herself to give us privacy. But I knew she was listening from somewhere. "Thank you for meeting with me," Detective Rodriguez said. "As I mentioned on the phone, we received an anonymous tip regarding possible neglect of your son. I want to be clear that this is a preliminary conversation. We're not accusing anyone of anything. We're just trying to assess the situation." "We understand," Mark said, "and we're happy to cooperate. But I want to state for the record that our son is well cared for. Whoever called in this tip is mistaken or has ulterior motives." "That's possible," Rodriguez agreed. "Can you tell me about a typical day in Tommy's life? Who cares for him? What his routine looks like?" Mark described our setup. I worked full-time, he traveled for work, Lisa lived with us and helped with childcare. Tommy went to school, came home, did homework, played. Normal 8-year-old stuff. "And Mrs. Henderson, how much time would you say you spend with your son on an average weekday?" It was a trap question. Whatever I answered would sound bad. Too little, and I was neglectful. Too much, and I was lying. "It varies," I said carefully, "depending on my work schedule. But I make sure to have dinner with him most nights and put him to bed." "Most nights?" "Some nights, I work late. Lisa helps when I can't be there." Rodriguez made a note. "And Lisa is, my sister-in-law," Mark said. "She's been living with us for 2 years." "I see. And Tommy's relationship with her?" This was my opening. "Actually, Detective, I'm glad you're here, because I've been concerned about Lisa's treatment of Tommy." Mark's head snapped toward me. "Jennifer, you asked about our son's welfare. I'm answering honestly." I pulled out my phone. "I have documentation of incidents where Lisa has been overly harsh with Tommy, locking him in rooms, leaving bruises." Rodriguez's expression sharpened. "Can I see this documentation?" I showed her the security footage, the photos of Tommy's bruises, the pictures of Lisa's notebook. Everything I'd shown Mark. The detective watched carefully, asking questions. How long had this been going on? Had I filed a previous report? Had Tommy disclosed abuse to anyone? Mark sat rigid beside me, furious, but unable to stop me without looking worse. "This is concerning," Rodriguez said. "I'd like to speak with Tommy, if that's all right, separately from you both." "Of course," I said. Mark called Tommy down. Our son appeared, looking nervous. Rodriguez smiled warmly at him. "Hi, Tommy. I'm Detective Rodriguez. I just want to ask you a few questions, okay? You're not in any trouble. I just want to make sure you're doing okay." Tommy nodded, glancing at me. "Why don't we sit in the living room?" Rodriguez suggested. "Just you and me?" They went into the other room. Mark turned to me, his voice low and angry. "What are you doing?" "Getting help, since you won't. You just accused my sister of child abuse to a police detective. Do you have any idea what that means? It means maybe someone will finally believe me. Or it means you're going to destroy this family." We sat in tense silence until Rodriguez and Tommy returned. Tommy's face was unreadable. The detective's expression was professional. "Thank you, Tommy. You can go play now." Tommy fled upstairs. Rodriguez sat back down. "I'd like to speak with Lisa now, if she's available." Mark called for his sister. Lisa appeared, all concern and cooperation. "Of course, Detective, whatever you need." They spoke in the living room. I couldn't hear what was said, but I could see Lisa through the doorway. She looked earnest, occasionally dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. After 20 minutes, Rodriguez returned to the kitchen. Thank you all for your time. I'm going to file a report and recommend a follow-up assessment by Child Protective Services. They'll likely want to do a home visit and speak with everyone again, including Tommy's teachers. What happens then? Mark asked. They'll determine if there are any safety concerns. In the meantime, I'd recommend family counseling. It's clear there are some tensions here that need to be addressed. Did Tommy tell you that Lisa hurt him? I asked. Rodriguez's expression was neutral. I can't share details of my conversation with a minor, but I will say that I didn't observe any immediate signs of abuse or neglect. Tommy appears healthy and well-adjusted. However, the videos you showed me warrant further investigation. She left, and the three of us stood in the kitchen. Lisa spoke first. I can't believe you did that. Called the police on me. On your own family. You called them first, I shot back. What are you talking about? The anonymous tip. That was you, wasn't it? Trying to preempt my accusations by making me look like the neglectful one? Lisa's eyes widened. I didn't call anyone. Why would I do that? Because you're trying to discredit me. To make me look crazy so no one believes what you've been doing to Tommy. This is paranoia, Lisa said, looking at Mark. She actually thinks I'm trying to frame her. This is worse than I thought. I'm not paranoid. I'm right. You're unwell, Lisa said softly, and I think you need help. Real help, for Tommy's sake, if not your own. She left the kitchen. Mark and I stood there, the chasm between us widening by the second. I can't do this anymore, Mark said finally. Do what? This. Us. Not like this. He ran his hands through his hair. I think we need some space. Time to figure out what's really going on. What does that mean? I think you should stay somewhere else for a few days. Get some perspective. I stared at him. You're kicking me out of my own house? I'm suggesting we take a break before this gets any worse. You can stay at your sister's or a hotel, just for a week or so. And leave Tommy here with her? He'll be fine. I'll be here. I'm not traveling this week. You're choosing her over me. I'm choosing to protect my son from whatever this is. Mark's voice was pained. Whether that's protecting him from Lisa like you think, or protecting him from the stress of his parents' marriage falling apart. I don't know anymore. But I know he doesn't need to be in the middle of this. If you make me leave, I'm taking Tommy with me. No. Mark's voice went hard. You're not. If you try, I'll file for emergency custody. And with a police investigation into both of you now, with your recent behavior, with witnesses to your accusations, Jennifer, you'd lose. He was right. I knew he was right. I was trapped. I need to think, I said. Take your time. But I meant what I said. This can't go on. I went upstairs and locked myself in our bedroom. My hands were shaking. Everything was falling apart. My phone buzzed. Dr. Chen. Mrs. Henderson, I wanted to confirm Tommy's appointment tomorrow at 3. The appointment. I'd forgotten. Actually, can we reschedule? Things are complicated right now. Is everything all right? I almost laughed. No, everything is not all right. The police were just here. My husband wants me to leave, and I can't protect my son because no one believes me. There was a pause. Mrs. Henderson, listen to me. If you believe Tommy is in danger, you cannot leave that house. Do you understand? Courts look very unfavorably on parents who abandon the home during custody disputes. I'm not abandoning anyone. Mark asked me to leave. Then don't. Make him force you out. Because if you go voluntarily, even for a few days, it could be used against you later. What do I do? Stay. Document everything. Bring Tommy to his appointment tomorrow. Let me evaluate him. Get professional documentation of what's happening. That's your best chance of being believed. I hung up and sat on the bed, thinking. Dr. Chen was right. I couldn't leave, no matter what Mark wanted. I went back downstairs. Mark was on the couch, head in his hands. I'm not leaving, I said. He looked up. Jennifer, this is my home. Tommy is my son, and I'm not going anywhere. You're just making this harder. Then you'll have to physically remove me. Call the police if you want, but I'm not abandoning my child. We stared at each other. Finally, Mark looked away. Fine. But you sleep in the guest room. The guest room. Where Lisa had locked Tommy. The irony wasn't lost on me. That night, I lay in that same room, staring at the ceiling. Downstairs, I could hear Mark and Lisa talking. I couldn't make out words, but the tone was clear. Lisa comforting him, reinforcing her version of reality. The next afternoon, I told Mark I was taking Tommy to a doctor's appointment. What kind of appointment? Just a checkup. We just took him last month. I want a second opinion. About the bruises. Mark's jaw tightened, but he didn't stop me. Dr. Chen's office was quiet and child-friendly. She met with Tommy alone first, while I sat in the waiting room, anxious. After 45 minutes, she called me in. Tommy's disclosed some concerning things, she said gently. He's described a pattern of behavior from your sister-in-law that's consistent with emotional abuse. Harsh criticism, isolation as punishment, verbal threats. He also confirmed the physical incidents you described, though he's been coached to minimize them. Coached by Lisa? He didn't say that explicitly, but his language had a rehearsed quality, like he's been told what to say if asked. Will you file a report? I'm required to. But I want you to know that CPS investigations can take time, and the outcome isn't guaranteed. What I can do is provide you with a formal assessment that you can use if this goes to court. Court? Custody court. If your marriage is dissolving and there's a dispute over your son's safety, a judge will want professional opinions. Mine will state that I believe Tommy is experiencing emotional abuse in the home and that the perpetrator appears to be your sister-in-law. It was something. Not enough, but something. What do I do in the meantime? Keep him safe, keep documenting, and consider whether you have any allies, someone in your husband's family or circle who might see what you're seeing. I thought about Mark's parents, his friends, our neighbors. Lisa had been so careful, so strategic. Everyone saw the helpful sister, the kind aunt, everyone except me. And now, Dr. Chen. When we got home, Lisa's car was gone. Mark was in the kitchen. Where's Lisa? I asked. She went to stay with a friend for a few days. She thinks it might be better, given everything. My guard went up immediately. Why now? Because she's trying to help, to give us space to work things out. Or because she knew CPS was coming and wanted to look cooperative. To distance herself before the investigation got serious. When is she coming back? I don't know. A few days, maybe a week. Part of me was relieved. Tommy would be safer with Lisa gone. But another part worried about what she was planning. That evening, Tommy and I made dinner together. He seemed lighter with Lisa gone, more like his old self. Mom, he said while stirring the pasta sauce, is Aunt Lisa mad at me? Why would she be mad at you? Because of the police lady and the doctor. I told them things, and now she's gone. I knelt down to his level. Tommy, listen to me. Aunt Lisa's not gone because of anything you did. You told the truth. That's always the right thing to do. She told me not to. My heart clenched. What did she say? That if I told people she was mean to me, it would hurt the family. That Daddy would be sad and you'd be mad and it would be my fault. That's not true. None of what's happening is your fault. Do you understand? Tommy nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. Lisa had planted it deep. Over the next few days, with Lisa gone, the house felt different, calmer. Tommy laughed more. Mark and I maintained a cold truce, barely speaking, but no longer fighting. I started to hope that maybe, with some distance, Mark would see things clearly, see how much better Tommy was without Lisa here. But on the fourth day, Lisa came back. She walked in with her suitcase, looking tired and sad. I missed you all, she said. And I realized running away wasn't the answer. We're family. We should face this together. Mark hugged her. I'm glad you're back. Tommy's face fell. He looked at me, and I saw the fear return. That night, after Tommy was in bed, Lisa asked to speak with me. We sat in the living room, Mark between us like a referee. I want to apologize, Lisa said. I've been thinking a lot these past few days. And I realized that even if I didn't intend to hurt Tommy, my methods were too harsh. I was raised a certain way, and I thought that was how you taught children to behave. But I can see now that I was wrong. It was a good speech, reasonable and contrite. I'd like to suggest family therapy, she continued. All of us together. So we can work through this and learn better ways to communicate. Mark looked at me hopefully. What do you think? It was a trap. I knew it was a trap. Lisa in therapy would be another performance, another chance to manipulate. But if I said no, I'd look like the unreasonable one, the one refusing to work on the family. Fine, I said, but I choose the therapist. Of course, Lisa agreed. Whatever makes you comfortable. I chose Dr. Chen, figuring at least she already knew the truth. Our first family session was scheduled for the following week. In the meantime, Lisa was on her best behavior. Sweet to Tommy, helpful around the house, deferential to me. It was eerie. Mark started to relax. See? He said one evening. She's trying. Maybe she really didn't realize how her discipline was affecting him. Or maybe she's just better at hiding it now. Can you at least try to give her a chance? For Tommy's sake? For Tommy's sake. Everything was always for Tommy's sake. The night before our first therapy session, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Lisa's strategy. She'd apologize in therapy, promise to change, maybe even shed some tears. Dr. Chen would see through it, but would Mark? Around midnight, I heard a sound. Footsteps in the hallway. I got up quietly, opened my door a crack. Lisa was standing outside Tommy's room again, just standing there, staring at his door. He's sleeping, I said. She didn't turn around. I know, I was just checking on him. You do that a lot. I care about him. You terrorize him. Now she turned. In the dim hallway light, her face was different, colder. The mask was slipping. You think you've won, don't you? She said quietly. Got that detective involved, that therapist. Turned Mark against me. I haven't turned anyone against you. You did that yourself. I've lost everything. My husband, my home, my dignity. I had to move in with my brother like some charity case. And you have everything. Career, family, this house, and you don't even appreciate it. So you decided to take it? I decided to survive, to make myself useful, to earn my place here. By hurting a child? Lisa's laugh was bitter. I never hurt him. I disciplined him, tried to make him stronger, better, because I could see what you couldn't, that you're raising him to be weak, soft, unable to handle the real world. He's 8 years old, and he needs to learn, but you coddle him, baby him. So yes, I stepped in, did what needed to be done, and if that made me the bad guy in his eyes, so be it. Someone had to be the adult. You're not his parent. No, but I'm more present than you are. The words stung because there was truth in them. I had been working long hours, missing school events, relying on Lisa more than I should have. But that didn't justify what she'd done. You need to leave this house, I said. That's not your decision. This is Mark's house, and he wants me here. We'll see what he wants after tomorrow's therapy session, Lisa smiled. You think your therapist is going to convince him? You really are naive. Mark wants to believe I'm good. He needs to believe it. Because if I'm the monster you say I am, what does that make him? The man who brought that monster into his home, who let her near his son. It makes him human, someone who made a mistake. It makes him guilty, and people will do anything to avoid feeling guilty, including denying reality. Lisa moved closer. So no, therapy won't change his mind. If anything, it'll make him defend me more. Because the alternative is admitting he failed to protect his own child. And that's something Mark will never do. She went back to her room, leaving me standing in the hallway. And I realized she was right. Mark couldn't admit he'd been wrong about Lisa. The guilt would destroy him. So he'd keep making excuses, keep defending her, keep choosing to believe her version of events, which meant therapy wouldn't work. The investigation wouldn't work. Nothing would work unless I could make Lisa's mask fall in front of Mark. Force him to see what I saw. I needed her to crack, to show her true self when Mark was watching. And I had an idea of how to make that happen. It was risky, maybe even dangerous. But I was out of options. And I was done playing defense. The family therapy session was scheduled for Tuesday afternoon, but my plan started the night before. I called my office and requested a week off, citing family emergency. Then I told Mark I'd be working from home the next few days to prepare for a big presentation. The lie came easily now. I was getting good at this. Monday morning, I waited until Mark left for work. Lisa was in the kitchen making breakfast. Tommy was getting ready for school. "Lisa," I said, walking in, "I wanted to apologize." She turned surprised. "For what?" "For how I've been handling this. You were right. I've been stressed and probably projecting. I think I let my guilt about working so much turn into resentment toward you." Lisa's eyes narrowed slightly. She didn't trust this sudden shift. Good, she shouldn't. "I appreciate you saying that," she said carefully. "I want to start over. For Tommy's sake. For the family." I smiled. "I know therapy tomorrow will help, but I thought maybe today we could spend some time together. You and me. Talk things through. I'd like that." "Great. After I drop Tommy at school, we can have coffee. Really talk." I took Tommy to school, watching Lisa in the rearview mirror as we drove away. She was already on her phone, probably texting Mark about my sudden change in attitude. When I got back, Lisa had made fresh coffee. We sat in the living room, two women pretending to make peace. "I want you to know I understand where you were coming from," I said. "With the discipline, you were trying to help, and I can see how my absence made you feel like you had to step up." "Exactly." Lisa leaned forward. "I never wanted to overstep, but someone needed to set boundaries for Tommy. Children need structure." "You're right, and I haven't been providing that." I paused. "Can I ask you something? Honestly?" "Of course." "Do you resent me for having everything you lost?" Lisa blinked, taken aback by the directness. I don't know what you mean. Your husband died, you lost your home, your independence, and then you moved in here and saw me taking for granted what you'd lost. A family, a husband, stability. It must have been hard." She was quiet for a long moment. I could see her calculating, trying to figure out my angle. "It was hard," she admitted finally. "Harder than I expected. Being here, being dependent on Mark's charity, watching you go off to work while I stayed home like some kind of glorified babysitter. I never thought of you that way." "Didn't you?" Lisa's voice had an edge now. "You gave me chores. Expected me to watch Tommy, clean the house, make dinner. Like a servant. I thought we were family helping each other. That's what you told yourself. But the truth is, you wanted free childcare and housekeeping. And I provided it because I had nowhere else to go." There it was. The resentment bubbling up. "I'm sorry," I said. "I didn't realize you felt that way." "Of course you didn't. You were too busy with your important career to notice." "Is that why you were so hard on Tommy? Because you were angry at me?" Lisa's eyes flashed. "I wasn't hard on him. I was teaching him." "Teaching him what?" "That the world doesn't revolve around him. That actions have consequences. That he can't just cry and get whatever he wants. He's 8, old enough to learn respect, old enough to understand that his mother's time is more valuable than his needs." The mask was cracking. I pushed a little more. "Do you think I'm a bad mother?" "I think you prioritize the wrong things." "Like work? Like yourself, your career, your ambitions, instead of your family." "Is that what you tell Mark?" Lisa smiled coldly. "I don't have to tell Mark anything. He sees it himself. The missed bedtimes, the forgotten school events, the way Tommy's face falls when you say you have to work late again. But you're always there to pick up the pieces. Someone has to be. And that gives you power, doesn't it? Being the reliable one, the one Mark depends on, the one Tommy has to listen to because I'm not there." "I don't know what you're implying." "I think you do. I think you've enjoyed replacing me. Slowly but surely. Becoming the real mother in this house while I'm just the woman who shows up occasionally." Lisa stood up. "I think this conversation is over." "Why? Because I'm getting too close to the truth?" "Because you're being insulting. I've tried to help this family, and this is how you thank me? You've tried to take this family. There's a difference. You're delusional. Am I? Or are you angry that I finally figured out your game?" Lisa's face went hard. "There's no game. You're a paranoid woman who can't admit her own failures, so you're blaming me. It's pathetic. Then why did you lock my son in a room for spilling juice? I didn't lock him anywhere. He had a timeout. For 7 hours? Without food or water? It wasn't 7 hours, and he had water. So you admit you put him in there. Lisa's jaw clenched. He needed to calm down. He was terrified. He thought you were going to hurt him. I never hurt him. You left bruises on his arms. From stopping him from running away, he was having a tantrum. I had to restrain him for his own safety. That's not what Tommy said. Tommy's a child. He doesn't understand what happened. Or you've been gaslighting him, making him doubt his own memories, coaching him to lie for you. This is insane. Lisa grabbed her purse. I'm leaving. I'll come back when you're rational. Running away? That's not like you. You're usually so good at staying and fighting. I don't have to listen to this. No, you don't. But Mark will. Tomorrow, in therapy. When Dr. Chen tells him what she found. When Tommy talks about what you've done. When all your lies fall apart. Lisa turned, her eyes blazing. You think one therapist's opinion will change anything? Mark loves me. I'm his family. His blood. You're just his wife. And marriages end all the time. Is that a threat? It's reality. If Mark has to choose between us, he'll choose me. He always has. He always will. We'll see. Lisa left, slamming the door. I sat there, shaking. I'd wanted to push her, to make her show her true colors. But I'd forgotten to turn on the security camera. I'm stupid. I'd been so focused on the confrontation that I'd forgotten to document it. Unless I grabbed my phone. I'd been recording audio the whole time. It wasn't video, but it was something. I listened to the playback, heard Lisa's resentment, her admission that she'd put Tommy in the guest room, her threat about Mark choosing her. It wasn't perfect, but it might be enough. That evening, Mark came home looking worried. Lisa called me. She said you two had a fight. We had a conversation. She didn't like where it went. She said you accused her of trying to steal our family. Did she tell you what she said about how she resents me, about how she sees herself as Tommy's real mother? She was upset. You pushed her. I asked her honest questions. She gave honest answers. For once, Mark rubbed his temples. I can't keep doing this. The fighting, the accusations, it's tearing us apart. Then listen to the recording. I played it for him, every word. Lisa's resentment, her admissions, her threat. Mark listened, his face unreadable. When it ended, he was quiet. Well, I said, she was angry. You goaded her into saying things she didn't mean. Mark, you ambushed her, set her up, recorded her without permission. All to what? Prove she's human? That she has resentments and frustrations like everyone else? She admitted putting Tommy in that room for a timeout, which she's allowed to do when she's watching him. For 7 hours? She said it wasn't 7 hours. You said it was. Who's to say what's true? I stared at my husband, this man I'd loved for 10 years. You're really going to defend her, even after hearing that? I'm trying to be fair, to see both sides. There aren't two sides to child abuse. And there's no proof of child abuse, just your interpretation of events. Your recordings taken out of context. Your conviction that Lisa is some kind of monster when all the evidence shows is a woman who's struggling and imperfect, and maybe too strict sometimes. She threatened our marriage. She said marriages end. That's not a threat. That's a fact. And the way things are going, she might be right. The words hung between us. Is that what you want? I asked quietly. For our marriage to end? I want my wife back, the woman I married, not this paranoid stranger who sees enemies everywhere. I see one enemy, one, and she's living in our house, hurting our son, and manipulating you into defending her. Tomorrow, Mark said firmly, we'll go to therapy. We'll let Dr. Chen assess everything. And whatever she recommends, we'll follow. Both of us. Agreed? Agreed. That night, I barely slept again. I kept running through scenarios in my head. What if Lisa charmed Dr. Chen too? What if the therapy session backfired? What if Mark convinced the therapist that I was the problem? The next morning, we all drove to Dr. Chen's office in tense silence. Even Tommy was quiet, sensing the importance of what was about to happen. Dr. Chen's receptionist led us to a large room with comfortable chairs arranged in a circle. Dr. Chen entered, greeting each of us warmly. "Thank you all for coming. I know this is difficult, but I believe if we're all honest and open, we can make real progress toward healing this family." Mark smiled hopefully. Lisa looked serene. Tommy looked terrified. And I felt like I was about to step off a cliff. "Let's start with everyone sharing their perspective," Dr. Chen said. "What do you each think is the core issue we're here to address?" Mark went first. "I think there's been a breakdown in communication. My wife believes my sister has been abusive to our son. My sister maintains she's just been helping with discipline. And I'm caught in the middle, trying to figure out what's true." Dr. Chen nodded. "Lisa, what's your perspective?" "I love Tommy like my own. I've tried to help however I can, but I think Jennifer has been under tremendous stress, and she's projecting her guilt about working so much onto me. I don't blame her. I just want us to find a way forward." It was a perfect answer. Sympathetic, non-defensive, focused on solutions. "Jennifer?" I took a breath. "I think Lisa has been systematically abusing my son, emotionally and physically. I think she's manipulated my husband into doubting me, and I think she's dangerous." The room went silent. "That's quite an accusation," Dr. Chen said neutrally. "It's the truth." "Then let's explore it. Lisa, can you tell me about your approach to discipline with Tommy?" Lisa described timeouts, consequences for misbehavior, consistency. It all sounded reasonable. "And Jennifer, can you describe what you've observed that concerns you?" I went through everything. The locked room, the bruises, the cruel comments, the psychological manipulation. Dr. Chen asked follow-up questions, probing both our stories. Then she turned to Tommy. "Tommy, can you tell me what it's like when Aunt Lisa watches you?" Tommy looked at his father, then at Lisa, then at me. "It's okay." "Just okay?" "Sometimes she gets mad, but I probably deserve it." "Why do you think you deserve it?" Tommy shrugged. "Because I mess up a lot." "Can you give me an example of when you messed up?" "Like when I spilled juice, or when I'm too loud, or when I forget my chores." "And what happens when you mess up?" "Aunt Lisa gets disappointed. She says I need to try harder." "Does she ever yell or use physical punishment?" Tommy hesitated. I could see him weighing his words, remembering what Lisa had coached him to say. "Sometimes she raises her voice, but she's just trying to teach me." Dr. Chen made notes. "Tommy, I want you to know that you're safe here. No one will be mad at you for telling the truth. Can you tell me about the time you were in the guest room?" Tommy's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want to talk about it. I understand it's hard, but it would really help me understand what happened. I was bad. I spilled juice. Aunt Lisa said I needed to think about being more careful." "How long were you in the room?" "I don't know. A long time." "Were you scared?" Tommy nodded, tears spilling over. "What were you scared of?" "That Aunt Lisa wouldn't let me out. That I'd be in trouble forever." "Did Aunt Lisa say she wouldn't let you out?" "She said I had to stay there until I learned my lesson." Lisa shifted in her chair. "I did say that, but I checked on him regularly. I gave him water. It was never meant to frighten him, just to give him time to reflect." "How long was he in there?" Dr. Chen asked. "An hour, maybe 2 at most." "It was longer," I said. "I found him there 7 hours after I left for work." "I went in and checked on him multiple times," Lisa insisted. "The door wasn't locked. He could have come out whenever he wanted." "The door was locked when I got home. Maybe it's stuck. It's an old lock." We were back to he said, she said. I could see Mark's expression shutting down, overwhelmed by the conflicting stories. But then Dr. Chen did something unexpected. "I'd like to try an exercise," she said. "Tommy, can you show me, using these dolls, what happened that day?" She pulled out a set of play therapy dolls. Tommy looked uncertain. "It's okay," Dr. Chen encouraged. "Just show me, like you're telling a story." Tommy picked up the small boy doll and the adult woman doll. He reenacted the juice spilling, the woman grabbing the boy's arm hard, dragging him upstairs, pushing him into a room, closing the door. And then what happened? Dr. Chen asked gently. Tommy made the boy doll cry, made him call for help, made him try the door. And what was the woman doing? She left. She was downstairs. I could hear her, but she wouldn't come. How did you feel? Scared and hot, and my tummy hurt because I was hungry. How long did you feel that way? Until Mommy came home. Dr. Chen turned to Lisa. Does this match your recollection? Lisa's face was calm, but I saw the flash of anger in her eyes. He's a child. His sense of time is distorted, and he's clearly been influenced by his mother's version of the events. Or he's telling the truth, I said. Jennifer, Dr. Chen said quietly, I'd like to speak with you and Mark separately now. Lisa, would you mind waiting in the lobby with Tommy? Lisa hesitated, not wanting to leave the room, but she couldn't refuse without looking bad. Of course. Once they were gone, Dr. Chen turned to us. I need to be direct with you both. Based on my individual session with Tommy and what I've observed today, I believe there is cause for serious concern regarding Lisa's interactions with your son. Mark's face went pale. What are you saying? I'm saying that Tommy's description of events, both verbally and through play, is consistent with emotional abuse. The isolation, the withholding of food and water, the fear he expressed, these are not indicators of normal discipline. But Lisa said, I know what Lisa said. And it's possible she believes her own version. Abusive people often justify their actions as discipline or necessary correction. But intention doesn't negate impact. Tommy is being harmed. You're sure? Mark's voice was barely a whisper. I'm sure enough to have already filed a report with CPS, as I'm mandated to do, and sure enough to recommend that Lisa not be left alone with Tommy until this is fully investigated. Mark put his head in his hands. I can't believe this. I brought her into our home. I let this happen. You didn't let anything happen, Dr. Chen said gently. Lisa is skilled at presenting a certain image. Many abuse victims' families are blindsided when the truth comes out. What do I do now? You protect your son. That's your only job. Everything else is secondary. We sat there, the weight of it settling over us. Mark looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in weeks. I'm so sorry, he said. You were right. You were right the whole time, and I didn't believe you. You believe me now? Yes. His voice broke. God, yes. I'm so sorry. I wanted to be angry. Part of me was angry, but mostly I just felt relief. We need to tell her to leave, I said. I know. We walked out to the lobby together. Lisa looked up, reading something in our expressions. Her smile faltered. Is everything all right? We need to talk, Mark said. At home. The drive back was silent. In the rearview mirror, I could see Lisa watching me, her face unreadable. When we got to the house, Mark asked Tommy to go play in his room. Then the three of us stood in the living room. Lisa, Mark said, his voice shaking, I need you to move out. She blinked. What? Dr. Chen confirmed what Jennifer's been saying about how you've been treating Tommy. I can't have you living here anymore. You're believing her over me? Your own sister? I'm believing my son, and a professional who has no reason to lie. Lisa's face went hard. So that's it? You're throwing me out? I'll help you find a place. Pay your rent for a few months, but you can't stay here. This is ridiculous. I've done nothing wrong. That therapist is biased. Jennifer probably paid her to say those things. Lisa, don't. Don't what? Don't defend myself against false accusations? Don't fight for my place in this family? You don't have a place here. Not anymore. Mark's voice was firm. I need you to pack your things. Today. Lisa looked at me, and I saw pure hatred in her eyes. This is your doing. You poisoned him against me. I told him the truth. You destroyed this family. Congratulations. The only one who destroyed anything is you, I said quietly. When you decided hurting a child was acceptable. I never hurt him. Yes, you did. And you know it. And now everyone else knows it too. Lisa grabbed her purse. I'll pack. But this isn't over. I'll fight this. I'll fight you. Go ahead, Mark said tiredly. But do it from somewhere else. She stormed upstairs. We could hear her slamming drawers, throwing things into suitcases. Mark sank onto the couch. I can't believe I let this happen. I sat beside him. You didn't know. I should have known. I should have listened to you sooner. To Tommy. You're listening now. That's what matters. An hour later, Lisa came downstairs with 2 suitcases. She looked at Mark one last time. I hope you don't regret this. I already regret it, he said. I regret ever doubting my wife, ever putting you before my son's safety. But I don't regret asking you to leave. That's the first thing I've done right in weeks. Lisa walked out without another word. We watched her car pull away. And just like that, she was gone. The first few days after Lisa left were strange. The house felt lighter somehow, but also fragile. Like we were all walking carefully, afraid of breaking something that was just starting to heal. Tommy was quieter than usual. Not scared quiet like before. More thoughtful, like he was processing what had happened. On the 3rd night, he came into our bedroom after his bath. Mom? Dad? What's up, buddy? Mark was reading, and I was organizing some files. Is Aunt Lisa coming back? Mark and I exchanged looks. No, Mark said gently. She's not. Because of me? No. I pulled him onto the bed between us. Because of choices she made. This is not your fault. Do you understand? Tommy nodded slowly. I thought maybe I was a bad kid. That if I'd been better, she wouldn't have been so mad all the time. My heart cracked. Tommy, listen to me. You are not a bad kid. You're a wonderful kid. What Aunt Lisa did to you was wrong. None of it, not one single bit, was because you were bad or deserved it. But I did spill the juice. Kids spill things. That's normal. It doesn't mean you should be locked in a room or hurt or scared. The way she reacted wasn't about the juice. It was about her. Dr. Chen said that too. That sometimes adults have problems that make them act mean, even when kids don't do anything wrong. I was so grateful for Dr. Chen in that moment. She'd spent the past week seeing Tommy twice, helping him process everything. That's exactly right, Mark said. Aunt Lisa had problems, and we're sorry we didn't see it sooner. We should have protected you better. Tommy was quiet for a moment. Then, are you and Mom okay now? We're working on it, I said honestly. We had some hard times. But we love each other, and we love you, and we're going to be okay. Good. Tommy hugged us both. I like it better when it's just us. After he went to bed, Mark and I stayed up talking. We'd been doing a lot of that lately. Really talking, not just coordinating schedules or discussing logistics. I keep thinking about all the signs I missed, Mark said. The way Tommy got quieter over the past year. How he stopped asking Lisa for help with things. The flinching. I miss them too. I was so busy with work. You saw them when it mattered. You fought for him even when I didn't believe you. Mark took my hand. I don't know if I can ever really apologize enough for that. For choosing my sister over my wife, over our son. You were manipulated. We both were. Lisa was good at it. That doesn't excuse it. No, but it explains it. I squeezed his hand. We're going forward now. That's what matters. The CPS investigation was ongoing. A social worker had come to the house twice, interviewed all of us, reviewed Dr. Chen's reports. They'd also tracked down Lisa and interviewed her. According to the social worker, Lisa maintained her innocence, claimed we'd turned Tommy against her, said Dr. Chen was biased, threatened to sue for defamation. Will she? I asked Mark. Her lawyer told my lawyer she doesn't have a case. Too much documentation of her behavior. The lawsuit threat is just noise. Still, I couldn't fully relax. Part of me kept waiting for Lisa to show up, to find some new way to insinuate herself back into our lives. But weeks passed, and she stayed away. Mark's parents called eventually. Diane was upset, confused. Robert was angry that we hadn't come to them sooner. I had no idea, Diane said on speakerphone. Lisa always seemed so caring, so devoted to you all. She was very good at hiding her true nature, Mark said. I owe you an apology, Jennifer. You tried to tell me, and I didn't listen. I understand why. She was convincing. That's no excuse. You're Tommy's mother. I should have trusted your instincts. After the call, Mark looked exhausted. My family's falling apart. Your family is healing. There's a difference. He pulled me close. I almost lost you, lost Tommy, because I was too loyal to the wrong person. But you didn't. We're still here. I don't deserve you. Maybe not. I smiled slightly. But you're stuck with me anyway. At work, I'd finally told my boss what had been happening, why I'd been distracted, why I'd needed time off. She was surprisingly understanding. Take whatever time you need. Family comes first. I did cut back my hours, though. Started working from home more, being present for school pickups and bedtimes. It meant slower career progression, at least for now. But watching Tommy's face light up when I showed up to get him from school made it worth it. A month after Lisa left, Tommy had a follow-up session with Dr. Chen. She asked to speak with Mark and me afterward. Tommy's making excellent progress, she said. He's starting to trust again, to believe that his needs and feelings matter. That's huge. What about the long-term effects? I asked. Will this impact him permanently? It's hard to say. Childhood trauma can have lasting effects. But Tommy has some protective factors working in his favor. He's young, which means his brain is still very adaptable. He has 2 parents who love him and are actively working to help him heal. And he's in therapy, processing what happened in age-appropriate ways. So he'll be okay? Mark asked. I believe so. He'll likely have some trust issues to work through as he gets older. Maybe some anxiety around authority figures or conflict. But with continued support, he can absolutely lead a healthy, happy life. It wasn't a guarantee, but it was hope. 2 months after Lisa left, we got a letter. From her. I held it in my hands, afraid to open it. Mark took it from me. I'll read it first. He scanned the contents, his jaw tightening. Then he handed it to me. The letter was brief. Lisa wrote that she'd moved across the country, was starting over. She still maintained she'd done nothing wrong, but she recognized that her presence was causing distress to the family, so she thought distance was best. She didn't apologize, didn't take responsibility, just explained and justified. She'll never admit it, I said. What she did. She'll go to her grave believing she was right. Probably, Mark agreed, but that's not our problem anymore. He took the letter and threw it away. She's gone. She doesn't get to take up any more space in our heads or our lives. He was right. We'd spent enough time and energy on Lisa. Now was the time to focus on healing. We started family game nights on Fridays. Nothing elaborate, just board games and pizza and laughter. Tommy was getting better at losing without getting upset, at celebrating when others won. Small things, but they mattered. Mark and I went to couples counseling, working through the damage Lisa's presence had done to our marriage, learning to trust each other again, to communicate better, to be a team. I should have believed you immediately, Mark said in one session. And I should have been less focused on work, I countered. We both made mistakes. Our therapist nodded. The important thing is you're both here now, doing the work. That's what rebuilds trust. 3 months after Lisa left, we renovated the guest room. Couldn't bring ourselves to use it as it was. Couldn't look at that door without remembering Tommy's face when I found him there. We turned it into a reading nook. Comfortable chairs, good lighting, shelves filled with books. A cozy space that felt safe and inviting. Tommy helped pick out the paint color. A warm yellow, he said, looked like sunshine. No one's going to lock me in here anymore, right? He asked while we painted. Never, I promised. This room is for happy things now, for reading and relaxing. I like that. 4 months after Lisa left, Tommy had his 9-year-old birthday party. We invited his whole class, had it at a local park with games and cake and too much sugar. I watched him run around with his friends, laughing and shouting, and felt my throat tighten with gratitude. 6 months ago, he'd been a scared, quiet child. Now he was loud and messy and wonderfully, beautifully normal. He's doing so well, Mark said, standing beside me. Yeah, he really is. We did that. We saved him. You did, I corrected. When you finally believed, we both did. Mark put his arm around me. We're a team. I won't forget that again. At the end of the party, as we cleaned up wrapping paper and stray balloons, Tommy came over. This was the best birthday ever, he said. Yeah? Yeah, because everyone was happy, and nobody was mad at me. It broke my heart that his bar for a good birthday was that simple. But it also showed how far he'd come, that he could recognize and appreciate peace. Nobody's going to be mad at you for being a kid, I said. I promise. 5 months after Lisa left, Mark's parents visited again. It was still a little awkward, but we were working on it. Diane pulled me aside while Mark and his father were grilling burgers. I want you to know how sorry I am, she said, for not believing you, for defending Lisa, for making you feel like you were the problem. You didn't know. I should have known, or at least been open to the possibility. You're a good mother, Jennifer. I should have trusted that. Thank you. Lisa called me last week, Diane said quietly. From wherever she's living now, she wanted to tell me her side of the story, to make sure I knew she was the victim in all this. What did you say? I told her I'd seen the evidence, heard from the therapist, watched my grandson heal when she left, and that I supported Mark and you completely. Diane's expression was sad. She's my daughter. I love her. But I can't enable what she did. I can't pretend it didn't happen. That must have been hard. Hardest conversation of my life, but necessary. She needs to know that her actions have consequences, that she can't manipulate her way out of this. I hugged Diane, both of us crying a little. Another relationship healing, slowly but surely. 6 months after Lisa left, life started to feel normal again. Not the old normal, we'd never get that back, but a new normal that was in some ways better. Mark was more present, more engaged. He'd cut back on travel, made family a priority in ways he hadn't before. I was more balanced between work and home, setting better boundaries, being fully present wherever I was. And Tommy was thriving. Still in therapy, still working through things, but genuinely happy most days. One evening, we were all in the living room. Tommy was doing homework, Mark was reading, I was answering emails. Quiet, domestic, ordinary. And I realized I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop anymore. Wasn't checking the locks obsessively or listening for footsteps in the hallway. Wasn't afraid. Lisa was gone. Really, truly gone. Not just physically, but from the power she'd held over us. We'd taken our home back, our family back, our peace back. Mom? Tommy looked up from his math worksheet. Can you help me with this problem? Of course. I sat beside him, walking him through the equation. Mark looked over and smiled at us. This simple moment of normalcy. Later that night, after Tommy was asleep, Mark and I sat on the porch. It was warm, the kind of early summer evening that felt full of possibility. Do you think we'll ever tell Tommy the whole story? Mark asked. When he's older? Maybe, if he asks. If he needs to understand it to process his own memories? I hope he doesn't remember much. I hope it just becomes a vague bad dream. Me too, but if he does, remember, at least he'll know we protected him eventually. That we chose him over everything else. Mark took my hand. I choose you both, every day, for the rest of my life. Good answer. We sat there in comfortable silence, watching fireflies blink in the yard. Inside, our son slept safely in his bed, in a house that was finally free of fear. We'd been through hell. We'd almost lost each other, almost lost Tommy to someone who should have loved him. But we'd survived. We'd fought back. We'd won. Not because we'd destroyed Lisa or gotten revenge, but because we'd protected what mattered most. Because we'd chosen love over loyalty, truth over comfort, our child's safety over keeping the peace. And now, sitting on this porch with my husband's hand in mine and my son safe inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Complete, utter peace. The war was over. The nightmare was done. And we had our family back. Everything else, the therapy bills, the strained relationships, the sleepless nights, it was all worth it for this. For the quiet sound of Tommy's breathing from his bedroom window. For Mark's thumb rubbing circles on my hand. For the simple, precious ordinariness of a summer evening with nothing to fear. Lisa had tried to take this from us, had tried to replace me, to claim my family as her own, but she'd failed. Because a mother's love is fierce. And when pushed, when her child is threatened, she'll burn the whole world down to keep him safe. I'd been willing to lose everything, my marriage, my reputation, my peace of mind, to protect Tommy. And in the end, I'd lost nothing that mattered. I'd gained everything. My son was safe. My marriage was stronger. My family was whole. The guest room was now a reading nook filled with light. And the woman who turned our home into a battlefield was just a memory, fading with each passing day. We'd won, not loudly, not dramatically, but completely, and that was enough.